Okay, this is the first classwork of second semester. This is classwork 2-1. Grab the handout that I provided you and show the work on here. Write down the 5 words that show me that you listen. So again, we're looking at the 3 main ways of solving a system. Solving it by graphing, solving it by substitution, and solving it by a method called elimination, eliminating a variable. But here we go. The first method we're looking at is solving by graphing. Knowing that to solve equations by graphing, you got to get those solved for y. Got to get that y all by itself. So I'm going to subtract this 3x to both sides to get this first equation in blue solved for y. That gives me the equation y equals negative 3x plus 3. Now it's ready to graph. For my one over here in red, first step is to add x to both sides to get this y by itself. That's what you need, get y by itself to graph it. Now that y is by itself for both, you could graph on an xy axis and find where they intersect. First word is blue. So that one in blue, here we go. Start at 3. That number in front of x is telling me every time I go over 1, down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1, down 3. Be able to always stair step the opposite way. Left 1, up 3. Stair step the opposite way. Draw your line through them best you can. Use a ruler if you need it. Get that red line graphed. Here we go. Red 1, starting at 5 on the y-axis. I'm sorry. Starting at negative 5. Ooh, there's a common mistake. Don't write that positive right there. That's negative. Ooh, close. So start at negative 5 on the y-axis. Be careful, careful. Don't do what I did right there. And then right 1, up 1 is the slope of that equation. Right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1. Notice lack of precision. I already wrote that as positive 5, or that's negative 5. It's going through negative 5 on the y-axis. Draw your line through them. And then find that coordinate where they intersect. That coordinate for x and y is my solution to this system. Looks like I'm going right 2 for x and down 3 for y. That is my solution point. If a teacher was wanting you to check it, you could check it into any of these forms. The form solve for y or the original forms. Doesn't matter. They're all equivalent. You can check it by plugging in the 2 for x and the negative 3 for y. Should give you a true statement when you do that check into both. And again, doesn't matter. You could plug it in to the original forms, or you could plug in that x and y into the form solve for y. They'll give you true solutions, I promise you, if you plug those in. All right, next word is wave. Wave. All right, the second way to get that same coordinate, 2 for x, negative 3 for y, but not using a graph, we're going to do what's called substitution, if I could write that. Where you substitute one part of the equation into the other. The key to substitution is you got to get at least one of them isolated for x or y. For graphing, you got to have them both solve for y to graph the way we do it. But for substitution, solve for x or y, doesn't matter. I'm just going to take this top equation in red and in one step solve this for y. But again, substitution, you got to eliminate and isolate one of the variables. Because again, when you isolate that variable, that's x minus 5, that y by itself tells you where in the other equation your substitution. Where? I'm plugging in right here. Right there is where I'm substituting where. And then this tells me what is going right there. So where that y used to be, now there's going to be an x minus 5. I'm substituting that in there. So again, y by itself, or the variable by itself, tells you where in the other equation you're substituting. what it's solved for tells you what you're plugging in. So here we go. First step, the substitution step after one of my equations has been solved for is writing that 3x, leaving that plus alone, but where that y is, I'm substituting that x minus 5 from the equation in red. I still got my equal 3, and then all I do here, combine like terms, do normal algebra. That gives me 4x minus 5 equals 3. And then right there, simple two-step equation. Add 5 to both sides. Bring that 4x down. Bring that equal down. This gives me 8. Divide both numbers by 4. And that gives me what x is. X is 2. The same answer I got over here. X is 2. But now on these, remember, for substitution method, make sure you're writing the whole coordinate. Don't stop right there. You're only halfway. Make sure you write that 2 number in the right place. Don't put it in the y coordinate. That's the x coordinate. For substitution, you always, the last step is you got to substitute this 2 back in and find what that y is right there. That's the last step. So I could take any equation, doesn't matter. I could take any of the originals, plug in 2 for x. I could take any of the originals, plug in that 2 for x and solve for y. I could take this one, solve in red, and plug that x right there because, again, these are all equivalent. I could pick any equation I want to plug that red or that x is 2 to solve for y. I'm going to use this one right here. Since I have a choice of any of these 3, I'm going to use this guy right here to substitute 2 in for x to solve for y. So y equals, substituting that 2 in, gives me 2. I got that minus 5 there, here, showing me the work. Gives me the y coordinate is negative 3. Support your answer. That's why the y coordinate's negative 3. Showing me this last step right here. Next word is wing. Wing. Like a bird wing, pelican wing. All right, the next way to get that same point is called elimination, where you stack them on top of each other and try to eliminate one of the variables. So elimination method, you stack them on top of each other. You don't have to solve them for x or y, just leave them all mixed up like this. This is called standard form. When y it's by itself, we call it slope-intercept form. And now, when we're eliminating, sometimes you get lucky and one eliminates right away, but this one, nothing would eliminate. So got to make an adjustment. Choose one of the variables to eliminate. The way these are set up for you, usually one of the rows, you times it by one number, and it will get one of the variables to eliminate. So if I multiply that bottom row by 3, and triple distribute all the way through, and then take the time to rewrite everything again. So I got 3x plus y equals 3 from the original. The bottom one, after a triple distribute, I get negative 3x plus 3y equals negative 15. And now I just plus them up. Because the x's are opposites, they eliminate. The y's don't though. That 3y and y combine to give me 4 of those y's. I still got my equal, and then knowing my negative rules, 3 minus 15, that gives me negative 12. And then right there, divide both sides by 4, and that will give me half of my coordinate. Remember, y is negative 3. I know x is 2, but don't be lazy to get full credit. Support your work. So here I go. Y is negative 3. One more step to support my work. For elimination, you got to stack them and do an adjustment. Eliminate one of the variables. And then the last step, always plugging back in and supporting your answer for x. So taking that negative 3 and plugging it into y into any of the originals and solving for x. we're taking that -3 and plugging it in to the adjusted one. Doesn't matter because they're all equivalent. So I'm going to take that -3 and plug it let's plug it into this blue one now. So that blue one, I got 3x, I got plus, and where that y is, I put that -3. I got equal 3. And then that becomes a two-step equation. Support your work. Add 3. That's the opposite of -3. That'll give you 3x equals 6. Divide both sides by 3. Support your work. That's why x is 2. Support your work. Put that 2 right here. And again, this method gives you the same coordinate as the others. Next word is surf. Surf. Next word is surf. Surf. Sorry about that low audio. Hopefully you're listening here. And again, make sure you know when you're doing these all give you the same answer. The key to graphing, get them solved for y. Get them solved for y when you're graphing. The key to substituting is you got to have one of the variables solved for x or y. You got to have one of the variables isolated to tell you where you're substituting. And then elimination, just stack them with all the x and y's together, and then make sure you try to make one of the elimination or one of the variables eliminate by getting lucky sometimes or doing an adjustment here. All right, last word is stoked. Stoked. Hopefully you're able to hear those last words. Good luck.